Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad.
Welcome, everybody, to a very special episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, where things are going to go a little bit differently this time around. As you guys probably know, coming very soon as I am recording this, is going to be the U.S. presidential elections of Joe Biden versus Donald Trump. And what I'm going to do for this episode is that I am going to be completely analyzing both sides on what they have to offer and ultimately who's going to win and who's most likely going to win, as well as I am going to put in my input onto who you should go and vote for, at least a little bit of my opinion on who has done well, if a presidency of Joe Biden or 4 more years of Donald Trump would probably be the best for America and for the rest of the world. I'm just fooling with you guys, of course. As I am recording this, today is Halloween, and I figured why not start things off with a little bit of a scare for you all. And I figured, well, why the fridge not? What could be more scary right now than US politics, especially since these past 4 years have been an absolute nightmare with them. But for real though, folks, we're gonna have a good time with this special Halloween episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. I got a whole bunch of news all set up and ready to go, mostly animation related, but we will definitely have a good time. If we cannot go out and celebrate Halloween, then might as well go and make the most out of it in our homes, staying safe, and just have a good time online. So with all that said, I would like to go into the chat wall. I would like to ask you all, are you all ready for today's episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Are you ready to spend a little bit of Halloween with us right over here? Let me hear it, folks. Are we ready? Let's see now. Yes, all right. Sounds good. Yes, okay. It looks like we are prepared, we are set, that is great to go. And now, with all that said and done, it is now time that we shall go and begin. And with our first story, even though I am hyping this up to be so fun-filled and all that stuff, unfortunately I do have to begin this with a bit of somber news. In fact, as I am recording this is a bit of breaking news actually, considering that this news actually did get revealed this morning, where unfortunately a lot of people have woken up this Halloween to a little bit of a tragedy, a bit of a loss that we had. And this was someone who was considered an acting legend, someone who was considered a major icon, especially for one specific character. So with that said, let us now go and start things off by talking about the passing of Sean Connery. Yes, folks, it has officially been revealed that Sean Connery has sadly passed away this morning at the age of 90. Apparently what happened is that he died in his sleep, according to his family, in his home in the Bahamas. But unfortunately, this was actually something that they were expecting, considering that his health hasn't been the best in recent years. So this was a bit expected, and plus the fact that he was 90 years old, so he did live a bit of a full life, and considering that his health wasn't top-notch, then like they were kind of bracing themselves for this moment. Now, for those of you who don't necessarily know who Sean Connery is, well, the main thing that he is known for is the fact that he is the original James Bond. He is actually the first cinematic James Bond who has appeared in the movie Dr. No back in 1962. And he would reprise his role in several different occasions, actually, a few more sequels that would follow that, which would include From Russia with Love, Goldfinger, Thunderball, and Yeah, like just those movies basically. The first four James Bond films featured Sean Connery as as James Bond, of course. And following that, there have been plenty of other movies that Sean Connery has appeared. And you know, the funny thing is that he's not just well known for his role as James Bond. The best way to describe Sean Connery is that he's one of those actors that's a bit like wine, where the older he is, the more significant and the better that he is, and even more recognized as an actor. Where following afterwards, he would appear in many critically acclaimed and also fan favorite movies as well. He would go on to appear in feature films such as The Wind and the Lion, The Man Who Would Be King, Highlander, even Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, playing as Indiana Jones's father. And from there, he would also play in several other movies. Other notable films would include his final live action role in The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003, and also winning the Oscar for Best Supporting Actor in the 1987 film The Untouchables. But of course, this is only just the tip of the iceberg. This is only just a small fraction of describing the career of Sean Connery. In fact, this whole article here from Variety, like, this is actually a really long article describing his entire life and his entire legacy that he has done. So you could definitely tell that when it comes to Sean Connery, he's definitely been a massively impactful actor, and a lot of it really does stem from his work with James Bond. It's not necessarily his first acting role, but it really was his major breakout role that really cemented him in basically cinema history, where it really did define who he is as an actor, in which that kind of image would actually follow him for the rest of his life. Because when it comes to James Bond, you would think of someone who's very charismatic and knows a way with the ladies, you could say. Like not just those attributes, but also someone like who knows his job, who knows how to get the job done. Like whenever you would need an acting role that would have that kind of role, then Sean Connery would be more than willing to do it. Rather it be if he were like 40 years old or even like in his 70s even. Like, he would always have that type of role as like the sexy, charismatic kind of lead that like people still would view him as like the sexy, charismatic guy even in his old age. I believe like even in this article, it actually did state that I believe in it's like some kind of magazine, like People Magazine or something like that. They actually said, where is it? I just want to know. It's a big, this is a big article, by the way. Yes, it was in People's Magazine back in 1999. They actually selected Sean Connery to be the sexiest man of the century. Like, he really is that impactful in terms of his looks and even with his acting, because it is true, he is a very talented man. And obviously, there's no surprise that he did win the Oscar back when he did Untouchables. But even like with many of his other roles as well, they have been extremely memorable. Even if they would be like suddenly very small, like one that a lot of people would often refer to is actually a cameo where he would play as King Richard in Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And even though like they didn't even credit him, a lot of people really remember that moment when he appeared as King Richard. But on top of that, as I stated before, like that's one major thing that Sean Connery is definitely well known for. It's like, it's not just James Bond, but even following afterwards. And the funny thing is that Sean Connery is definitely one of those actors that when you see him as Sean Connery. It's hard to really look at him as anyone else, but still, he can play his role extremely well. In a way, you could say he's one of those actors, similarly to someone like Bill Murray or even Christopher Walken, where no matter what role they would play, they're undistinguished. Like, they are very noticeable. Like, you know it's them playing it, but they still do a very good job playing in their respective parts. And Sean Connery is definitely one of them. And also, another major comparison that I can do with Christopher Walken is that Sean Connery has to be one of the most impersonated celebrities out there, where he's just one of those actors that has such a distinct voice. Like, it's unmistakable, you know who he is, that almost everybody has their own impression of Sean Connery. Kind of like how everyone has their own impression of Christopher Walken. It's just that kind of recognizable voice that you can, you easily know who that person is. Even if you don't really know a lot of the movies he's in, you know that it's an impersonation of the guy. Like, no matter what, chances are you've probably heard so many times of the kind of person that tries to do this. Probably, I will admit, maybe mine is not necessarily the best, but when it comes to Sean Connery's accent, maybe there's a little bit of Irish, a little bit of Scottish, but at the same time, it's someone with a low, gravelly voice. You keep hearing this maybe in cartoons or anything like that, or comedy. People always doing that kind of voice. So, you get what I mean. Maybe mine was not the best. Mine was probably pathetic right there. But you get what I mean, though, when it comes to Sean Connery. Like, his voice is so distinct. And you probably heard people do impressions of Sean Connery almost all the time. And you see that, and speaking of sketch comedy, like, you often see that all the time of people portraying as Sean Connery. A great example, actually, is with Saturday Night Live, where I remember there's a bunch of sketches that they have done. It's actually so hilarious, where they do, where they would do Celebrity Jeopardy, and often they would be hosted by Will Ferrell playing as Alex Trebek, and they always have Sean Connery. He's always the celebrity that's just there. And the best way to describe Sean Connery's role in those Saturday Night Live sketches, which, by the way, they're not actually played by Sean Connery, it's actually a person impersonating Sean, but the best way to describe Sean Connery in those Saturday Night Live bits is that they would actually, Sean Connery is like what Statler to Waldorf is to Fozzie Bear, Sean Connery is to Alex Trebek. Like, he's always there just to troll Trebek, to give him a hard time. Like, not even like, he doesn't care about playing the game or about winning or anything like that. He's just there to, he's just there to full on troll Alex Trebek. Like, if you have seen them, you probably know what I'm talking about. And even, like, when he's there, like, he doesn't even know the questions. Like, it's kind of like a stereotype or a satire of how he was back with James Bond, always making, like, disgusting sexual puns and stuff like that. Like, I remember there was one time, like, he would go in, like, he would make a joke, and then suddenly, all right, Alex, I'll go and take the rapist for 400. That is therapists? And okay, let's read the question. They are hilarious. I highly recommend you go and check those out. Celebrity Jeopardy, Saturday Night Live, the ones that do include the mock Sean Connery. It's just amazing. But the point is that Sean Connery is just one of those actors where his personality, his brand as an actor is so recognizable. It's so distinguishable. Like, honestly, it's one of those roles that, yeah, they're almost one and the same no matter which movie that you would take, but he does his job very well. And even though it's so easily recognizable that it's Sean Connery, you notice that this is his, like, you know he does the job well. Like, you suddenly end up being immersed in that role where you actually do believe that he is that character instead of Sean Connery, despite the fact that he looks and sounds exactly like Sean Connery. And even for me, I will say that honestly, there have been some roles that I really did enjoy coming from him, especially, I think for me, the one that would stand out for me personally that I've seen, would have to be The Untouchables. He actually did a fantastic job, and honestly, perfectly understandable, why he would win the Oscar. If there is a performance that could even top what he has done as James Bond, it would have to be, it would have to be The Untouchables. And even with the James Bond one, I will say, like, that is still, like, this is not to say that the James Bond one is not iconic. I mean, he set the standard of how James Bond actors should be. Like, everyone else, like Pierce Brosnan or Daniel, I was about to say Daniel Radcliffe, but Daniel Craig. There we go. Okay, like, the rest of the actors, like, they all just, they were just following Sean Connery's footsteps. He set the rules, he set the standards of what a cinematic James Bond should be. And I think, honestly, it is a pretty sad Halloween that we have lost someone as iconic as Sean Connery, rather it be for satirical purposes or recognizing him as a legendary actor. This is definitely a man that, when it comes to acting in general, this is what people wish to be. This is the kind of actor that people want to be like, have a prominent career, winning awards, and also setting a standard for such an iconic character in pop culture in general. So I think it is unfortunately a massive loss that we don't have Sean Connery anymore. But the bright side of it is that he did live a full life, and I really do hope that he may rest in peace. So with that said, I would like to go and pass on to the chat wall, and I would like to ask you about your thoughts regarding Sean Connery. If you would like to go and share any memories about some of your favorite performances regarding Sean Connery, or your favorite moments with Sean Connery in general, let me know what you guys think about this. Okay. Let's see now. As a fan of cinema in general, this is by far the biggest loss of 2020 to date. Correct me if I'm wrong. My deepest condolences to his family. P.S. Did you know that he was considered to be the voice of various well-known Disney characters, including Mufasa, before James Earl Jones was cast, and Bert from Mary Poppins before the role would go to Dick Van Dyke? Well, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, that Disney kept on trying to get Sean Connery back. And the reason why I say get him back is mainly because just before James Bond, actually, he was in a Disney film called Darby O'Gill and the Little People. And little did they know that they got someone who was very iconic. And that was like way, way back. And I believe that movie was like in 1959 or something like that. And I wouldn't be surprised if Disney wanted to try again and again to have him to have him in like a Disney movie. And yeah, he probably would have been great as like Mufasa. I don't know about Bert, honestly, because Dick Van Dyke really he really made that role iconic. So it's hard to really see Bert not as Dick Van Dyke and as someone like Sean Connery. I don't know, that feels a bit out of place. But as Mufasa, I could definitely have seen him in that role. All right, let's see. And one more thing, like I don't know if I would say this is the biggest loss of 2020 in terms of celebrity deaths, because I would agree that technically he has a massive legacy, but the thing is, Sean Connery lived a full life. I would argue that Chadwick Boseman is more of a bigger loss, mainly because the dude unfortunately died young, and he died during the prime of his career, like just after he did his roles in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies, especially as King T'Challa. So, but well, I'm not saying that you are wrong. This is definitely one of the biggest losses, but the biggest loss, I could honestly debate on that. Let's see, who else would we have here? Let's see. One of his favorite performances that Connery has done is Indiana Jones's father and James Bond. But his worst film, in my opinion, is Sir Billy, aka his last film. I do also love his SNL parody as well. May he rest in peace, and he will forever be the best one of the best Bonds ever. You know, that's a funny thing to mention, because a lot of people would actually agree that in terms of all the James Bond films, he is the best James Bond. There's also here. Just gonna read you a little bit something here quickly. Coming from this article from Variety. I don't know if I've read any of the quotes here actually. It says that Connery was an audience favorite for more than 40 years and one of the screen's most reliable and distinctive leading men. The actor was recently voted the best James Bond actor in an August Radio Times poll in the UK. More than 14,000 voted, and Connery claimed 56% of the votes. Global tributes poured for Connery on Saturday following news of his death. So yeah, this is really like many people would actually agree with you. In fact, I would actually say most people would agree with you, considering that more than half say that he is the best James Bond. And I know that there are a lot of people out there that want to point out about Sir Billy. Like, a lot of people want to mention that apparently Sir Billy is his last movie, his last film performance. Especially a lot of people notice that in this article, they say that this is a mistake, saying that his last acting role has been in Stephen Norrington's The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003. But to be fair, when looking back at Sir Billy, do you really want to mention Sir Billy? Is this something you really want to remember for in terms of Sean Connery? Like, you know, the guy who did James Bond, Highlander, Indiana Jones, and The Last Crusade. Do you really want to throw in Sir Billy as a way to remember him? I don't know. No. Okay, just want to have a quick mention on that, because I know, like, I see a lot of people in the comments mentioning that part right there. Okay, so let's see here. While I'm not familiar with the James Bond movies, I knew him best for Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade as Indy's dad. I enjoy his acting there, and some of his lines were really funny, like, "It is you, Junior, and seeing him healed by the Holy Grail was amazing. He lived a great life, and may his memory be a blessing." Oh, wait, no. Oh, that's not the whole... Oh, that's not the whole quote here. Whoops. Okay. I did too much of a Sean Connery impression there. All right. Anyways, that's nice words there. I'll read another one. While I've never been a huge James Bond fan, it is still so sad to see Sean Connery go. He was an acting legend, and he will be missed. It's just too bad that his last movie had to be a cheap animated direct-to-DVD movie. Yeah, that's why, honestly, that's why a lot of people would rather mention about The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as his last film, even though many don't necessarily want to remember that movie either. Like, you're kind of like in an awkward spot. Which one do you really want to say is Sean Connery's last movie before he ultimately went? You know, like, do you want to say League of Extraordinary Gentlemen or Sir Billy? You know, you gotta pick. Okay, I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story here. Let's see. Oh, actually, this is an example. I've never seen a movie with Sean, but I am familiar with the parody voices of him. One example is the Snowman from Courage the Cowardly Dog. I really love the voice actor's song to freeze up my life with the character, but Sean will be missed indefinitely. Rest in peace, Indy's father. And yeah, that is actually another great example, because as I said before, Sean Connery has a very distinct and recognizable voice that has been used again and again in many cartoons. And that is actually one great example. I never thought of that character for so long. Like, I remember watching Courage the Cowardly Dog so much as a kid, but I completely forgot about the Snowman, actually. And it is true. Like, that is actually one character that did actually have a distinct Sean Connery voice impression. Like, I know it might sound random for a snowman to talk like Sean Connery, but that is another example of just the use of his voice and just the memorability of it. Is that often you want to have like a character, and immediately, just by doing the Sean Connery voice, then suddenly you get a new character right there. It's a good basis to start somewhere. You want to build up a character, get the voice, and then you could just build the character based around the voice. See what can happen. It doesn't matter even if it's a snowman or even a dog. As long as you do get a character with that voice, then you should be good to go. Sean Connery is very useful.
when it comes to doing impressions of him. Like I said, he's almost like Christopher Walken in that sense.
But yeah, overall though, may Sean Connery rest in peace, and may his legacy live on forever. Okay, now with that said, it is now time that we go back to our regularly scheduled program, now for the things that I have scheduled for you all. And with our next story that we have here, let me go and talk to you a little bit about something from last week. You may recall that one of the trailers that I did watch with you all is AniMat's, in which that is going to be coming on Hulu. But I wonder if there's anybody that has ever looked at the trailer or has heard a lot about the news regarding the AniMat's reboot and wondered to themselves, why is it that AniMat's is going to Hulu and not on HBO Max? It seems kind of weird because you think HBO Max is the Warner Brothers streaming service, and yet Hulu, which is mostly owned by Disney, is the one who has AniMat's. What the fridge gives? Well, there is a little bit of a reason, but one of them that I could say is that HBO Max does have their own idea of what they want as a reboot, or more specifically, a reboot of a nostalgic 1990s animated series from Warner Brothers. And what I am going to be talking about is, of course, Tiny Toons. Well, not just Tiny Toons, but several different shows that have actually been announced. Because the thing is, HBO Max and Cartoon Network has actually made some massive announcements regarding several new shows that are going to be coming in both platforms on HBO Max and also on Cartoon Network. The biggest and most significant one that has been revealed is, of course, a reboot to Tiny Toons Adventures, or as it's now going to be called, Tiny Toons Looniversity. Now, we don't necessarily have much info on it just yet, but one thing that has been revealed is regarding the executive producers that will be in charge of this project. First and foremost, of course, we got Steven Spielberg coming back as an executive producer of the show, along with Aaron Gibson, who will be another executive producer as well as the showrunner. Other executive producers that will be coming will include Nate Cash, Sam Register, the president of Warner Brothers Animation and Cartoon Network, as well as the co-presidents of Amblin Television, Justin Falvey and Daryl Frank. There is no other announcements or nothing else has actually been revealed about this Tiny Toons reboot. We don't know who among the cast is going to be coming back. We don't know the plot of it. We don't know how they're going to be rebooting it. We just know for a fact that they are rebooting it. The only piece, however, the only extra little piece that we do know is that unfortunately, Elmira is not going to be coming back, which was actually confirmed by the original voice actress, Cree Summers. So in a sense, it does give us a little bit of a clue that maybe this Tiny Toons reboot is going to be similar to the AniMat's reboot, that not necessarily everyone is going to be coming back. Kind of like with how in AniMat's, characters such as Minerva Mink and Nurse will not be coming back to that. But again, this is not the only show that has been revealed by both HBO Max and Cartoon Network, because there is also another one that has been revealed, and we do have a little bit more info onto that one, which is called Unicorn Warrior Eternals. And this is actually going to be a series brought to us by none other than Genndy Tartakovsky. And with this one, however, we actually do know a little bit more about it. We actually do have a summary of what this show is going to be all about. Now, they've already mentioned that this is going to be a series that will be based on myths and legends and lore and all that kind of stuff. But on top of that, reading again from my source here on Variety, it states, throughout history, unicorns have symbolized the virtuous, appearing to ensure that goodness reigns. When the reawakening of our heroes come too early, they find themselves in the bodies of teenagers. Damaged as a result, their memories of who they are and the history of the unicorn over centuries have been lost, with some of their magical abilities weakened and fragmented. Not only do they have to protect the world against the prevailing darkness, they have to do it while navigating the unexpected laughs and humor that come with teen angst and emotions. Now, we do not have any confirmation of when these shows are going to be coming out, but we know that right now the Tiny Toons reboot and Unicorn is going to be in the works right now in HBO Max and in Cartoon Network. At the same time, however, they have also revealed plenty of other shows that are going to be coming to us by the children's book author, illustrator, and playwright Mo Willems, in which both Cartoon Network and HBO Max are planning out several different shows with them. These will include an animated series called Unlimited Squirrels, a CGI animated rock special called Naked Mole Rat Gets Dressed, the Rock Special, and what is said to be a pilot order for a live-action immersive series called Cat the Cat Show the Show... What the fridge? Okay, just bear with me on this title. Cat the Cat Show the Show with You the You. Okay, yeah, that's definitely not confusing. They do state that apparently, there are a little bit of info. They did state who's going to be working on it, and that apparently, there's a multi-year contract that Mo Willems has with HBO Max and stuff like that, but no other major information that has been laid out regarding any of the shows. And if I may go and put in my little piece on it, I can't really speak a lot regarding the Mo Willems series and the stuff that he's planning out or they're planning out. Honestly, I'm not really that familiar with them, so I can't really comment. The most that I can say is actually regarding Tiny Toons Looniversity and Unicorn. And starting out with Tiny Toons Looniversity, honestly, it feels like it is a surprise, but it shouldn't be that much of a surprise, especially coming from the fact that with Warner Brothers Animation, they really are on a massive roll when it comes to these reboots. They really are capitalizing on that hard. And the funny thing is that even though Animaniacs is only going to be released in a few weeks or something like that, it's going to be sometime in November, already there is massive hype. There already is some massive positive reception coming to it. They know people really want an Animaniacs reboot, and they figured, why the fridge not? Let's go and also bring back Tiny Toons Adventures as well. And another thing that really did help out on that is actually regarding a little bit of a mainstream comeback with the Looney Tunes. And I'm not just referring necessarily to the memes, but also with the Looney Tunes cartoons on HBO Max. And from what I've heard, they've actually been doing extremely well on the streaming service. So from there, why not also bring back the spin-off of the Looney Tunes, the Tiny Toons Adventures, and just go from there? It doesn't necessarily sound all that surprising that they would want to go and do it. And plus the fact that they know that this could actually be something that could be big. And already they actually had a 2-season order, so they already got a good bunch of Tiny Toons that's actually going to be coming into the series. But one thing I would like to note, however, and I feel like that would actually be a pretty interesting discussion, is actually regarding who's going to be coming back in terms of the cast and also with the characters as well. I remember a friend of mine actually did point this out, and it is actually pretty interesting, is regarding Plucky Duck. Because the thing is, Plucky Duck was voiced by Joe Alasky, and sadly, Joe Alasky is no longer with us. So the big question is, if it's going to be a case that is similar to, if they're going to treat this similarly to Animaniacs, and they're going to bring back as many of the original voice actors as they can, then who's going to be replacing Plucky Duck? Who's going to be replacing Joe Alasky for Plucky Duck? And I have, and I did talk with my friends about it a little bit, and honestly, if I may go and put in a little bit of a guess regarding, oh, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. I just realized something. I just read something in the comments, and I just read it, and I'll get back to that later. But the thing is that going back to what I was talking about, I feel like honestly, if there would be someone that would go and immediately be the new voice of Plucky Duck, I wouldn't be surprised if they would go with Eric Bauza, because right now it seems like Eric Bauza is the go-to guy of voice matching. Like if ever you have an existing character and you want a really good voice impression of an old cartoon character, then chances are they would go with Eric Bauza. I mean, he's already been covering a lot of the original Looney Tunes characters, especially as Daffy Duck or as Bugs Bunny, so it wouldn't put it past me if they would also bring him on board in order to be the voice of Plucky Duck. So that could honestly be the case. And also, I do find it actually very interesting that they are bringing back these early 90s Warner Brothers shows, like not just Animaniacs, but now they're also bringing back Tiny Toons Adventures. And it does make me a little bit curious if this is actually going to continue. If like in the near future, does this also mean that we are also going to see announcements of a reboot for stuff like Freakazoid or for Hysteria? That's the one thing I do want to know, because it feels like Warner Brothers really wants to go and try to capitalize on that nostalgia factor, especially for these early 90s shows. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they will actually do that announcement sometime soon, because those are also highly beloved. Those are also very nostalgic, and they are very much in that same style as Animaniacs and as Tiny Toons. So it wouldn't I would not be surprised if sometime they would actually go and make those announcements. But maybe it's just a little bit of a coincidence, mainly because like with Tiny Toons and with Animaniacs, those ones, they very much are with those ones, those are like the most popular among all of them, more so than like Freakazoid or especially with Hysteria. So like maybe those two are more priority, and maybe like we would have to wait a little bit to see how things really go with Animaniacs and with this Tiny Toons reboot before we would even consider bringing back Hysteria or Freakazoid. So maybe for those we will see, but I do sense a little bit of a pattern with what's going on at Warner Brothers Animation. But then you also got the other major series that they have announced, Unicorn Warrior Eternal from Genndy Tartakovsky. And I will say, in terms of the concept with how they have described it, this honestly sounds really fascinating, and I could definitely see this be extremely awesome. And especially with the fact that this is Genndy Tartakovsky playing around with myths and legends and lore and stuff like that. I feel like it gives him so much material in order to really play around with and really make this cool, artistic, action-packed series that could be in the style of something like Samurai Jack or Symbiotic Titan or something like that. In fact, a lot of people are even mentioning that this looks like this could be some kind of spiritual successor to Symbiotic Titan. And honestly, I could actually see that. I could definitely see a little bit of the parallels, especially when you got like these teenage characters with extraordinary powers. Just replace the robots and the sci-fi elements and just put in put in myths and legends. And that is going to be really cool to check out if done right. But I will say, when I was reading all this, when I first heard about Unicorn Warrior Eternal, I did get myself hyped up. I was very intrigued by it, but then suddenly they would go and include the words, it's actually the last sentence that kind of put a little bit of a break on that, where they say they have to do it while navigating the unexpected laughs and humor that come with teen angst and emotions. Oh, this is going to be more comedy-oriented. Oh, I see. Ugh, yikes. Okay, let me go and explain. Now, the thing is that I understand that when it comes to Genndy Tartakovsky, like, of course he is a television animation legend. I think there is no denying on that. But lately, most of his series are more action-oriented that are taken more seriously. I'm not saying that there's no humor in any of them. Like, they can have their funny moments, but a lot of them are a lot more serious than your average Saturday morning cartoon, per se. Stuff like Samurai Jack, Star Wars Clone Wars, what else would there be? Primal, especially, and Symbiotic Titan as well. But then, technically, some people could say that there is also Dexter's Lab, and that one is a lot more comedy-oriented, and probably the series that people think the most when it comes to Genndy Tartakovsky. However, there is a little bit of an issue with that. Dexter's Lab was like almost 30 years ago, and that was Genndy's first major project that he created. So the only thing that we can really go to when it comes to his comedy in recent years is the Hotel Transylvania films. And say what you will about those movies, say what you will about the animation style, say what you will about the films, but honestly, one of the franchise's weak points is the comedy. I'll give it that the first does actually have their funny moments. There are some times that I did genuinely laugh in the first film. The second and third one, however, they are not funny. Now, I understand that when it comes to the Hotel Transylvania films, they are less like movies and they want to be more like cartoons and putting more emphasis on the humor, on the gags, on the jokes. But the problem is that the grand majority of them, or I would even say all of them, it's just not funny. Maybe you get a little bit of chuckles here and there, but for the most of it, they are just duds. They are just sad attempts of trying to be like Looney Tunes cartoons. And I know that there are some people that could argue that technically a lot of that could be due to studio interference from Sony Pictures Animation, or it could be from executive interference like from Adam Sandler. That could be the case. But you gotta keep in mind that Genndy Tartakovsky is the director of those movies, or at least the first 3 movies, and he is the writer for some of them, or at least he did get involved in some of the writing process for these films. And a lot of the comedy does come from him. And sadly, a lot of the comedy comes weak and it comes pretty pathetically, I gotta say. Like especially with the third one, where he actually was both the director and the screenwriter. It was one of the very rare movies that I felt so sorry for a movie to be that bad. So, for now, my point that I'm trying to make is that, for now, I really don't trust Genndy Tartakovsky when it comes to comedy. And maybe things can be a little bit different here, because he is working on a series and not a movie from a major studio like Sony. So, maybe things can be a little bit different, and maybe his style of comedy can work out more on television. But overall, this is why it would put my attitude more in a wait-and-see kind of feel to see how this show goes. That, honestly, I feel like this whole concept is great, and I can definitely see where it can go into a right direction, where it could turn out to be an amazing and fun-filled series, especially giving Genndy Tartakovsky a lot of material to work with, and presenting it in a really cool, action-packed style, in his signature style, if you will, because he definitely does have a distinct look that, if done right, it can be absolutely beautiful. But for now, especially with its tone, I have to go and wait and see. And if the comedy is going to ruin it, then it's just going to feel like the Hotel Transylvania movies, and it's just going to end up feeling like a complete wasted potential. So that one, I'll just... I'll be cautious on it. I'll be optimistic, and I can definitely see the cool things that they could definitely do with this series, but I'll still be cautious if the comedy would end up ruining everything. So we'll see with how that goes. But overall, this is the announcement that both Cartoon Network and HBO Max has done. We don't have a release date for any of them. Oh, actually, sorry about that. I just want to have a quick research. I probably should have done this like way earlier, but I am curious because someone has mentioned actually just before that Mo Willems apparently was someone who did work on Codename Kids Next Door, and oh, okay. Honestly, okay, never mind. I was about to say, like, okay, At first, like my mind suddenly thought like, oh, is he like the guy who made Kids Next Door? No, that's someone else. Okay, no, like he was someone who did work on codename Kids Next Door, but okay, but I'm not necessarily that. Or Sheep. Oh wait. Oh wait a minute. Okay, someone even pointed out that oh, he made Sheep in the Big City apparently. Oh, wait. Oh, Mr. Warburton. Oh, that's the thing. Okay. Oh, he was the creator. Oh, wait. That's true. Okay, now it dawned on me. Okay, so it makes, okay, so he is, yes, that's true. That's right. Okay. So Mo Willems is the creator of Sheep in the Big City. Okay. You know, honestly, now that gives me kind of a new perspective. I'm not gonna lie, like, okay, now suddenly I see the light and I can suddenly understand, like, how these shows are gonna go. And now it actually does make sense about shows like Unlimited Squirrels and Naked Mole Rat Gets Dressed, the rock musical, and Cat the Cat Show, the show with You the You. Okay, it does make sense because suddenly this is his brand of humor. I remember when I was a kid, I used to, like, that was another show I used to watch all the time. Like, I actually used to watch Sheep in the Big City. And that was one of those shows that is a lot more, how do you say, random-oriented. Like, looking past the art, like, his art style, some could say, is a little bit more, like, simplistic, yet has that Picasso style to it. But funny enough, when looking at this, like when you look into the comedy, he really does go into the oddball randomness of it. Like he really does go into the random, like the unexpected random aspect. And it is true, like when you do think about like these shows where like Unlimited Squirrel, or even like something that sounds oddly meta in a way. And I think that's that's also a very good way of describing it, is that it's not only random, but also very meta as well. The kind that's like, it knows it's stupid. It knows that it doesn't know what it's doing, but that's kind of like the whole point of it. That's kind of like the whole experience. It's like, yeah, it's chaotic, but it's purposely chaotic for your own entertainment. And it does, it kind of does make sense. And I could definitely see the appeal when it comes to kids. I don't know if it's going to be something that will become, like, massively huge. Because, like, even with Sheep in the Big City, it wasn't something that was, like, really big or, like, really popular with Cartoon Network. Yeah, Sheep was, like, considered one of the OG members of Cartoon Network and stuff, but never necessarily made it as big as something... Whoa, excuse me. Wow, that came out of nowhere. But anyways, Sheep never necessarily made it as big as, like, Ed, Edd and Eddy or Powerpuff Girls or Dexter's Lab or something like that. So, like, it will be a fun addition. So I could definitely see how these shows could actually go. So, yeah, overall, though, these are the series that are going to be coming up on Cartoon Network. We don't have a confirmation, or Cartoon Network and HBO Max. We don't necessarily have a confirmation of when they're going to be coming out, but... yeah, well, expect some very fascinating shows coming soon. So with that said, I would like to go and pass on to the chat wall, and I want to go and ask you all, what do you all think about some of the new series that are going to be coming up on HBO Max and on Cartoon Network? Are there some that you're more excited than others? Do you have certain emotions regarding a few of them or one of them? Let me know what you all think. Oh, dang, there's a lot of things people want to say. Okay, so let's see here. Okay. Wow, interesting. I do agree Eric would be a great replacement when he comes to new voice actors for old Warner Brothers characters. Eric is the way to go. I love all his voices from the characters he plays. Heck, the only good thing about the Banana Splits movie was his voice for the Splits. But we will see what happens when new news comes out later on. While I do agree the humor could ruin it, with the others, they do have some good ideas that can be used. Mo also has written books, IFC. Okay. Yeah, and it is true with Eric Bauza, and yes, he definitely was one of the voice. He definitely was the voice of the Banana Splits, where he did do all of them, and he actually did do a great job, being those new voices. Like I said before, Eric Bauza is pretty much the go-to guy for voice replacements. He is the great cartoon impersonator that if ever you need a new voice, if ever you need a voice, if ever you need a character to come back from the dead, then you just go with him. And I mean, it's not just with the Looney Tunes characters, but also like I believe he's the current voice of Woody Woodpecker as well. So it really does highlight Eric Bauza's career there and how like he's kind of like in the height of it. Yeah, let's see now. I've not seen a lot of Tiny Toons outside of the time the Runaway Guys parodied the intro. Seriously, you should check that out. It's pretty funny. So I can't form that much of an opinion. The Genndy Show, on the other hand, now that sounds pretty good. I'll likely check that out and maybe the Tiny Toons series once I become more familiar with the series. Hell, maybe Tiny Toons Looniversity will be a case where it starts off weak but ends on a strong note, just like a certain other piece of and unfortunately, on another animated. Just like it continued later. Just like another certain other piece of animated university media based on a major franchise. I know exactly what you're talking about, dude. I know where you're going with it. I do agree with you there. That is true. Let's see now. I am very happy for another Steven Spielberg animated show is coming back, just like AniManiacs, which I got hype, and that Genndy Tartakovsky is making a new show for HBO Max. And that's the comment there. Okay. Let's see. What else do we have here? The Tiny Toons reboot was a surprise, but I'll wait and see how it looks. I'm not holding my breath considering Cartoon Network's past with reboots. It will be nice to hear Katsushi do Fifi La Flume again, and she's one of my personal favorite characters from the show. Also, condolences to Cree Summers. I may not like Elmira, but she is a great actor nonetheless. Yeah, it is usually sad when, like, you hear suddenly not everyone is coming back, and, like, sometimes, even though some characters are not your favorite, when they're not there, it can be noticeable. Let's see now. I'm very interested to see how this reboot turns out. While I have never seen Tiny Toons, I am at least aware of it. I also do hope we could potentially get a Freakazoid reboot next. Also, I am just happy that the Looney Tunes are starting to become relevant again thanks to this, Looney Tunes cartoons, and Space Jam: A New Legacy coming next year. Honestly, the only thing that I could debate is just Space Jam: A New Legacy coming out next year. I mean, with how this pandemic is going and how it's becoming stronger than ever, we'll wait and see if it really is coming out next year or if it's more going to be in 2022. We'll wait and see on that. Alright, anyways, let's see. What do we have here? I have never watched Tiny Toons before, so I have no words on it, but just knowing that Unicorn Warrior Eternals is created by Genndy Tartakovsky gives me instant hype. You have said that he is rather overhyped, but he has still done some incredible work with Dexter's Lab, Samurai Jack, Star Wars Clone Wars, and Primal. Let's just hope Cartoon Network treats it much better than Symbionic Titan. As for the teen angst, I'm guessing that the comedy will try to help balance out the dark stuff. That could be true, and I mean, yeah, you are right that there are times when I would say that he is overhyped, but I mean that more in the fact that a lot of people are kind of like highlighting him as like one of the greatest animated voices ever. Like people like putting him up on a high pedestal as big as like Walt Disney and Tex Avery and stuff like that. Yeah, he's done some amazing stuff, but like up to those standards, honestly, no. It's just like people putting him a little bit too high, like portraying him as an animation god. That's why I say he's a little bit overhyped, mainly because a lot of people view him a little bit too highly. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it's just that I feel like the way people view Genndy Tartakovsky as if like he can do no wrong in a way, and always think like his works are always amazing no matter what he puts out, that could be a little bit too hyped. You know, the fact that people are too afraid to criticize Genndy Tartakovsky is why I'm saying that he could be a little overhyped. Let's see, I'll read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Let's see. My thoughts on Tiny Toons Looniversity. The fact that this is also slated for Cartoon Network worries me, since considering how the channel treats reboots like Powerpuff Girls, Teen Titans Go, Thundercats Roar, I worry it may not be handled as well if any of the higher-ups make some bad orders for it. However, as Amblin is involved again, who knows? As for Elmira, one theory is that due to Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain, the rights to her may be more on the Animaniacs side right now. Maybe if Animaniacs does well again, who knows? Well, I mean, in that case, like, honestly, I don't know. That doesn't sound right, because technically the rights are still with the same people. It's still with Amblin and Warner Brothers. Like, technically, like, the rights to Animaniacs and the rights to Tiny Toons, they're pretty much all in the same field, you know? They're all in the same thing. Like, if they want to do an Animaniacs and Tiny Toons reboot, legally, they would definitely be allowed to do it. So, I don't know about that theory, to be honest. But, yeah, like, we don't know when they're going to be coming out, and maybe they won't be coming out for a few more years, but we'll have to wait and see with how this goes. Okay, now the next story that I have over here, this is probably the most Halloween-oriented story that I have for you today, and it's actually going to be regarding a trailer. And the reason why I say this is more Halloween-oriented, because what you are about to see is going to be something that will be a little freaky. In fact, this will be more in line with the horror slasher films, where in this case, there's not necessarily a killer on the loose, or this isn't necessarily horror-themed, but there will be a lot of violence in there. In fact, the trailer that I'm about to show you is going to be highly violent, where there's going to be a lot of blood, there's going to be a lot of gore, and there's going to be a lot of on-screen killing, or animated on-screen killing. So, from there, I would like to go out and give you a massive warning that if you guys are too uncomfortable to see any form of blood, or any form of gore, or anything like that, then I highly recommend you just skip this story entirely, because what you are about to see is going to get pretty nasty. So just giving you a little bit of a warning right there. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the upcoming Crunchyroll Max original series, Onyx Equinox. So let's check it out. The following trailer contains graphic material and language not suitable for all audiences. See the bone on that thing. Eesh.
This blood drought has escalated. Mictlantecuhtli sunk an entire city into the underworld.
Izel was chosen?
To close the gates. But he can't do it alone.
If you fail, mankind will be wiped from the face of the earth. Bring me the boy named Izel.
You wanna play, huh? Let's play!
Izel!
You've come so far. Fulfill your destiny.
Want to get your asses kicked?
Hey, monsters! Come get me!
And that is Onyx Equinox. And one thing I gotta say, like, honestly, it seems weird that I would suddenly find this and pick this one up to go and talk about it. But the reason why I have discovered this is actually from a friend of mine who actually shared it with me and mentioned one significant thing that I think we may have all noticed if you have seen the trailer, is the fact that this really does look a lot like Avatar: The Last Airbender. Or at least the animation style is very much like Avatar. And it's definitely true that the more you look at it, the more that it really does share that exact same style. That America branded anime, if you will, like trying to be like anime, but it's not exactly like anime because you could tell that it was created mostly in a US based animation studio. But I will say that is not necessarily a bad thing. Like, you could tell that when it comes to the animation style, it is definitely highly detailed. Like, it has a lot of great shots, and not to mention a lot, like, what you see is a lot of creative monsters. You see a lot of different designs, a lot of different details, a lot of great expressions onto the characters. So, like, they definitely did a great job. So far, this is a great-looking series, even though it looks exactly like another well-known animated series. Like, yeah, a lot of people will be making that comparison, but so far, the animation does look impressive so far. But then there is also one thing that I will say, is that after watching this, I knew that if I have to talk about it, I need to watch this several times, actually. I need to rewatch this trailer again and again, just for the sake of washing off from my brain, or try to get used to seeing all the blood and guts, because that's honestly something that they are making this a massive selling point, is the fact that this is going to be a highly violent series, that they are not holding back on the blood, on the gore. Especially, like, one of the first shots that you see is a dude who has his arm broken, to the point where we see some of the muscle and even some of the bones, like, breaking out of it. Like, it doesn't hold back on being extremely nasty. Like, what it's trying to do, basically, from what I can tell, is that it's a little bit like trying to be something in the veins of Attack on Titan, where you got these main characters who are going to go and fight against these giant monsters, except they are going to make this a lot more of a massive bloodbath. Like, they want blood to just gush out. In fact, like, a lot of the blood that you see just spewing out everywhere, that's just from people. Like, I don't know how things are going to be with the monsters when they're going to be hacked and slashed, and their blood and guts are going to be spewing out. Like, they want to make sure it is nasty, and they don't want to hold back. It's kind of like gore-sploitation in a way. Like, they really want to go and emphasize that to be a massive selling point. But then there is also something, like, after rewatching it, like, try to understand what the story is about, or what the show is trying to do. One thing that I have noticed that actually does look pretty cool is honestly the fact that this all has an entire Mesoamerican aesthetic. Like, it has a bit of, like, the Incas or the Mayans. Like, they're trying to go with that direction, with all the monsters, with all the with the environment, that they want to have that as their as kind of like their main theme of everything. And it's actually pretty cool, and it's something that hasn't necessarily been explored as much as it probably should, because Mesoamerican mythology is something that not many people necessarily look into, but there's a lot of legends and there's a lot of stories that people could really tap into that would make some great epic adventures, and not to mention that they would also make some great like a great style, a great aesthetic style into it. And you could see, like, a lot of it, especially when it comes to some monsters, that they do capture that look very well, especially like with the big main bad guy who has, like, a massive crown and all the rings that are braided onto his hair. Like, you could see a lot of Mesoamerican inspiration, and not to mention also, like, you have moments where, like, one of the main characters apparently is going to be this like this Black Panther, in a talking Black Panther that's going to hang out with the crew. And even, like, there are moments where they're going to create their own monsters. Like, apparently there's going to be one that they promised that the cheetah is going to be, the Black Panther is going to be fighting against, is just literally a bunch of cheetah bodies that are blending into this one giant being. So, like, there is going to be some creativity, but, like, I could say right now that it will be for a specific audience. It's going to be for people who could be able to go and stomach it. Like, I can imagine that there are some people that might be a little bit squeamish when it comes to these things, like with blood and guts and stuff like that. It is definitely not made for them, but I can see in some ways that for people who are into those things, they could really get into this show. Now, if there is one thing that I will say that I feel like is kind of confusing, and my one major criticism would have to be this little thing. Like, I don't know why, but for some reason, like, out of all the madness that would be presented in this series, they also want to go and include a cute little sidekick character. Like, out of everything, they want to have their own little Pikachu type character, their little Pikachu or a little Snarf type of character that's just there to have his cute little moments. Like, honestly, I feel so confused as to why this character is in this series in particular. Because I understand the purpose of these characters for animated series like this. Usually they are there to go and boost up the cute factor. It's more for the younger audience to be connected with, just to at least go and balance out from like the darker tones and darker themes that the show would often present. And often the cute characters would be there to have some lighthearted moments or to supply some of the humor. Now, I feel like they're trying to do the same thing here, where I don't mind the fact that they would want to implement some comedy, and I'm sure some comedy would be well needed to balance out some of the darker action that they would go and present. But I feel like this kind of character is like, I feel like you're made for kids, yet this is not a show for kids. So why are you here? I don't know, that I personally feel like it's a little bit confusing, because you're not made for a target audience that would be watching this show in the first place. So that I feel like is one confusing thing from all this. But I will say that is kind of a minor issue compared to everything else that they would present. And honestly, I could actually see a lot of potential coming from this series. They got a very interesting theme going on. Technically, it is more for a specific audience that is into like all the blood and guts spewing out, but the action that they do present is pretty cool, and I love the idea that they really are going deep into Mesoamerican mythology. I wish more movies and shows would get into that as well, because there's a lot of potential that not many people are capitalizing on. So from there, this actually does seem pretty interesting, and like I could actually see myself being down for to be down for this. So we'll see with how this goes. We don't necessarily have a release date as of yet. Oh no, wait, we do actually. Sorry about that. Yes, we do have a release date, and it's gonna be coming soon. Actually, in a few weeks, where it's gonna be available on Crunchyroll on November 21st. So if you guys can handle this trailer, if you guys could stomach what you have witnessed with this trailer, then you can go check it out on Crunchyroll on November 21st. Okay, so now, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what did you think of this trailer for Onyx Equinox? Is this a show that you guys think you can actually stomach? Could you actually see yourself get into it? Do you think the show is good? Do you think the show has a lot of promise, or maybe not? Let me know what you think. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Okay. Someone even mentioned, I looked it up, and there actually is a reason for Axatal, aka the cute little creature, being in there. To humans, axolotls are a complete non-threat. They can't hurt you in any significant way. To other fish, however, axolotls can be quite dangerous. Okay, that's interesting to know. Like, maybe it'll make more sense when we do... Actually, I don't need this. Maybe it'll make more sense when we do actually see the trailer to see, like, the significant role of that little character. Okay, let's see. Damn, I have no other reaction. Just damn, this looks absolutely insane. The animation is fantastic, don't get me wrong, but the amount of gore and blood spewing around everywhere, I'm not squeamish, dude. I'm not squeamish, dude, but this actually got me to squirm a little. I don't have any jokes to cap this off, just yeesh. Now, if you excuse me, I need to get a bucket. Don't ask why. You want to play kick the can with the bucket? Is it because you want to play kick the can? Okay, let's see what we got here. Holy moly, this looks very violent. The best way I could describe this upcoming series is Avatar meets Castlevania. Some of the designs look like they came from Avatar, while violent aspects look like they came out of Castlevania. This looks like it has potential to be a great series with the way this trailer presented me so far, and I would like to see it even though I don't have Crunchyroll. Hopefully this blows me away if I were to see it. Yeah, and I think that actually is a good comparison right there, and actually a good setup to prepare yourself for Onyx Equinox, that if you're able to stomach and handle the Castlevania series on Netflix, then you could probably handle Onyx Equinox as well. Like, they probably have the same amount of violence, and like it depends on how much you can handle an extreme amount of violence. So there is that like I think you can all understand why it would take me several tries to watch this trailer just to understand what it's trying to do outside of the blood and guts, because yeah, it can be overwhelming the first time you would check out this trailer. Like, oh yikes, dude, this is like extremely violent even by normal standards, you know. Okay, let's see now. Yeah, I'm not really interested in this. It's not even the gore that bothers me. I just don't seem to be interested in it. Then again, I usually watch anime movies rather than series. It's just the thicker outlines that make it look more westernized anime. I was expecting the gore to be much more uncomfortable, but I find the use of blood in Evangelion more effective. So yeah, I'll skip this one and stick with the Aztec-based animated comedies. Do you know any Aztec-based animated comedies? Honestly, the most that I could think of is just Road to El Dorado, but, or Mesoamerican-based, but still. Okay, what else do we got here? What other comments that we have? Let's see. As soon as I saw the first few seconds of the trailer, I knew this would be a series I have to check out. I won't know yet if I'll enjoy the story until I actually see it, but after seeing the characters and the cool designs of the monsters, consider me hooked. Also, after looking at the voice cast, I noticed Aaron Hansen is going to be in it. Yes, that Aaron? Holy crap. Oh, nice. Like, I am aware that he is trying to be more and more of a voice actor, but I am surprised, oh, he's also going to be in this series. Ooh, that is actually going to be interesting. I'll definitely keep an ear out on that one if I do watch the show. Oh, that would actually be interesting, though. Okay, so, let's see now. You know what? I think I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the next story. Yep, this will certainly be rated R. It's nice that we are getting an animated show based on Mesoamerican culture, since the only animated work with Mesoamerican influence is in The Road to El Dorado. And I agree with you. Why do they have the axolotl creature? Maybe it will make some sense in the future, or it will be gruesomely murdered later on. With a cute character like that, I don't think they would immediately want to kill him just yet. I don't think he would be for violence. That, or either he's gonna be the most violent. Like, you never know if some action, like, if some kind of action is gonna happen and this dude is gonna turn into some evil monster, or not evil, but turn into an insane monster that's just gonna really rip the other giant monsters to shreds. That could also be the case. You never know. But yeah, once again, I would like to say that if you guys are interested in checking out what Onyx Equinox is going to have in store for you, then all you have to do is just wait until November 21st on Crunchyroll. Now, moving on to the next story that I do have, we're going to be jumping onto another streaming service, and this time, don't worry, it's going to be a lot more lighthearted. I promise you that. This is actually going to be a Netflix series that they are hoping is going to bring in a lot of heart and also a lot of fun. But there is just one thing about it that I can't help but feel like it's just a little too familiar. And you guys will know exactly what I'm going to be talking about when I show you My Dad, the Bounty Hunter. Yes, Netflix has officially announced that they are going to be making a brand new CGI series called My Dad, the Bounty Hunter, which is going to be brought to us by one of the Oscar-winning directors of Hair Love, Everett Downing Jr., and Patrick Harpin, who is a storyboard artist at Sony Pictures Animation who has worked on the Hotel Transylvania films, the Emoji Movie, Connected, and a few others as well. We actually do have a lot more info on this particular series, by the way, in which I'll read from my source here on Animation Magazine, as it states, the action comedy series follows the toughest bounty hunter in all the galaxy, a man with razor-sharp skills, but also a secret. His family on Earth has no idea what he does for a living. So when his two kids accidentally hitch a ride into outer space and crash his latest mission, they discover that their average dad's job is anything but boring. Dodging dangerous aliens and laser fights galore, this family bonding time goes to the extreme. Wait until mom finds out. And on top of that, one of the key, and by the way, yes, if you are watching this, then this is the poster that they have right now for this series. And the first thing that you may have noticed, of course, is that the main characters, or at least the Earth characters, is actually a black family. And that's going to be one of the major selling points that they will have for this series, is that it will have a prominently black cast. In fact, we actually do know who the cast is actually going to be, in which we have this little list here that will include Russell Hornsby, Yvonne Orji, Priya Ferguson, Yvette Nicole Brown, Jacoby Swain, Leslie Uggams, Rob Riggle, and is it Rob Riggle? Yeah, Rob Riggle and Jim Rash. And we also have a little bit of a quote here coming from the creators themselves, from Everett and Patrick, in which it states here, "We can't wait to share our brainchild with the world. My Dad the Bounty Hunter is a love letter. My Dad the Bounty Hunter is a love letter to animation, science fiction, and black families rolled into a crazy action comedy. We threw everything we got about sci-fi into this show, but it's the family at the center of the story that we're most excited about." And honestly, I can actually see a lot of the potential with this series. I could see where it can actually be a lot of fun, because when you do think about it, it has a lot of the materials that would go into making a great creative series. Like, you got a lot of the action, which is supplied by the sci-fi aesthetic, which also brings in a lot of the creativity of the show. So you would go and see a lot of unique designs with the aliens, where one example, you see like what seems to be the big bad guy alien in the back, and then you also got like another girl fish-like alien that's on the side that could be another bounty hunter, or maybe an anti-villain, or maybe working with the big villain on the side. Like you see like these cute little bunny cat-like creatures that are like beside the characters as well, and as well like a preview of a whole bunch of aliens that are trying to go after the dad. And like, it does have that promise of creativity and also the action aesthetic that they like. It could be pretty intense, that they promise as well. And then you also got the family, which that will supply the comedy and the heart as well. And that's going to be another major thing that it will supply, especially from the fact that one of the creators is one of the directors of Hair Love, you can guarantee that there is going to be a lot of heart into it, especially a lot of family bonding time with the dad and the two kids, especially going on these like crazy life-risking adventures, and maybe with the humor as well. Like you could see, especially coming from like the characters' expressions, where you see like the girl is a little more brave, the little boy is actually like freaking the hell out. You see the dad just like unconcerned, like, I don't know what's going on with my life right now. I thought I'm a bounty hunter, but then this happened and I'm like, crap, what do I do now? So you do see, so it has all the materials necessary to create what could be a very strong and prominent series that Netflix could have. However, there's just one little thing that's going to be a massive obstacle for the series. One thing that will keep it away from having people interested and from having it be possibly a successful series. Now, I don't want, I hate to go and bash it because it looks like something that would have a lot of love into it. That looks like it's something that the animators might have put in a lot of passion and a lot of heart. But I don't know, this cannot be just me. But I cannot help but feel like this is a Mandalorian ripoff. Because at first glance, when you do look at this really feels like Netflix is desperately trying to cash in on Disney Plus's success and try to create their own, they want to create their own Mandalorian. Like I want to ask the chat wall right now, guys, is it just me that feels like this looks like a ripoff of The Mandalorian? Am I the only one? I just want to know, do you also see this as well? Because I cannot be the only one. Let me just see. Like, guys, do you think so? Like, yes, no, it is. Okay, yeah, wait. A little bit, okay. Hold on. I see, like, yes and no's, but, okay, you guys really do see, like, you do, okay, maybe you do see. Okay, yeah. So, okay, and some people are not sure, but the thing is that I can't help but feel like there's just too many comparisons to The Mandalorian. Think about it. Okay, first of all, like, My Dad the Bounty Hunter. First of all, it stars a bounty hunter, and then you have, like, this whole sci-fi aesthetic that's going on. And on top of that, like, even the theme of family is very similar to The Mandalorian. I know technically with The Mandalorian, like, you have the Mandalorian himself, and then you also got the child, which technically they're not related by blood, sure, but there is that father-son bond that they do have that is a prominent theme throughout the series so far. And it looks like they're kind of copying the same thing. Like, again, you got the sci-fi aesthetic, you got the main character that's a bounty hunter, and you got the theme of family with the bounty hunter's connection with these children. And not to mention, by the way, that the girl is freaking holding a lightsaber, which, I mean, like, you cannot make it any more obvious than that, where you feel like you cannot look at this and not think that there hasn't been any form of influence to Star Wars. And again, honestly, I could be wrong, and I want to be wrong, actually. Like, I would like to see this thing prove me wrong and turn out to be a very strong series as it is and become very successful to Netflix. I do wish it all the success, but I know for a fact that it's going to be a massive obstacle for this show, that that a lot of people are going to have this prejudice that it's going to look like a complete ripoff to The Mandalorian. This just looks like Netflix's desperate attempt to rip off Disney to have their own Mandalorian. And trust me, it's going to be, this is going to be a big obstacle, and it only requires the show itself to try to prove that it's not. Like, I know that is a massive assumption, especially just considering the fact that this week they just announced this, and the only thing that we have is just the poster, and that's it. But still, like, honestly, you got to make sure you make a great first impression, or else that's going to really significantly damage the performance of the show. So I'm just putting out that warning, and hopefully it will find a way to prove me wrong. And I just want to add as well that I don't know if Netflix did this on purpose, but the timing of this announcement is just absolutely terrible. Because they're putting out they're revealing that they're gonna make My Dad the Bounty Hunter on the exact same week as Disney Plus releasing season 2 of The Mandalorian at the same time as that show is becoming fully relevant again. So honestly, it's gonna be hard to separate that mindset of trying to think that My Dad the Bounty Hunter is completely different from The Mandalorian. But again, it would require the series itself to try to prove me wrong. And hopefully it would prove me wrong. Again, it does look like it has a lot of potential, and if done right, it could actually turn out to be really good. And I definitely do trust having Everett Downing Jr., the guy who has worked on Hair Love, to also work on this as well. So maybe it could turn out good, but again, like, I'm just putting out a warning regarding the comparisons to The Mandalorian, that this could be the one thing that could lead to its demise, and you know that I'm not going to be the only one that will be making this comparison to The Mandalorian. So ultimately, we will have to wait and see. Now, as of right now, we don't have any announcements regarding a release date of when this show is going to be coming out, but hopefully it will prove me wrong, and I do wish the animators and the people working on this series the best of luck on this show. Okay, so with that said, let's go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, what do you think about My Dad the Bounty Hunter? Is this a series that you would be interested in? Do you agree with me or do you disagree regarding the comparisons to The Mandalorian? Let me know what you all think on this. Okay, so let's see now. So many mixed emotions I got right now. On one hand, the people behind the show seem to have a lot of passion for this show, but on the other hand, it looks too much like Star Wars. Even the alien girl on the right looks like a Star Wars alien. Big bad guy on the top looks like the Vilgax from Ben 10. I might have mispronounced that because I don't know Ben 10 at all. And even the title looks too similar to My Dad the Rockstar. Oh my god, I remember My Dad the Rockstar. I'm surprised other people remember My Dad the Rockstar. But I will forgive it for borrowing stuff from other franchises if they can pull it off the same way Pixar did with Toy Story. Yeah, that's definitely true. Let's see. This doesn't sound too original, but Netflix has proven to be really good with space content, especially with Over the Moon. Like, for real, they didn't need to make Changi that relatable or hot. I won't expect anything spectacular, but this does sound like a good watch. But if you really want something unexpected from space, Google Space Movie 1992. Well, I am running a show right now, so I'll do that later. Let's see now. Yeah, this looks a lot similar to Star Wars. Too similar, in fact. The cute animal creatures, the droids, the dad's armor, specifically the helmet. Oh yeah, that's another major comparison. Like, you look at the dad, and that's definitely bounty hunter armor that he is wearing. Like, even like the the T-shaped helmet. Like, it's very much like The Mandalorian. Like, they're really going a little too much into Star Wars on that. Anyways, and the entire aesthetic. Heck, the daughter is even holding a lightsaber. It might be good right now, but I'm imagining Disney in the shadows just quietly saying, "Do it. Release it. You will fail." Oh yeah, honestly, if there is one group of people that I know are going to be hyped up for this and really keeping an eye out, is going to be the Disney lawyers. Like, they're just checking it out, almost Willy Wonka style, like, oh, so, you're going to put out My Dad a Bounty Hunter? Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see how Star Wars-y this show is. I'm sure it's a nice little tribute to Star Wars. Yeah, a nice little tribute that I'm sure even the judge would like to know about. Okay, let's see now. What else do we have here? On one hand, we have Everett Downing, the director of the heartfelt Oscar-winning short Hair Love. On the other hand, we got Patrick Harpin, who worked on less than stellar animated films like the Hotel Transylvania sequels and the great classic The Emoji Movie. So overall, has some promise, but still a bit of doubt. But then again, I can't really blame Patrick Harpin too much. I mean, he's just a story artist. He has yet to fully prove himself as his own major voice in animation. So, I mean, like, there have been plenty of story artists who have worked on, like, numerous of projects, especially in something like the Emoji Movie, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they're not good, you know? So, I won't put his Sony animation work, I won't judge Patrick Harpin based on his Sony animation work, so, like, he has yet to fully prove himself as, like, a major creator or director voice, so I just want to emphasize that. All right, I'll go and read one more comment before we jump into the grand finale of this. Let's see. It definitely feels like a Mandalorian ripoff, and we have the season 2 of The Mandalorian this weekend. I smell a lawsuit coming! And what's next? A ripoff of the Death Star? And at least this meme could perfectly describe this show, the show Kid. Mommy, can I have a Mandalorian? Oh, yeah. It perfectly describes the meme. Mommy, can I have the Mandalorian? We have the Mandalorian at home. Mandalorian at home. My dad, the bounty hunter. Yeah, that could be the case. You never know. But overall, though, again, I could be proven wrong on this, and I hope that I am wrong that this is not just a Mandalorian ripoff. So let's hope for the best, and we'll wait and see with what Netflix has in store. Okay, so with that said, it is now time that we jump onto the grand finale. And what I want to talk about is going to be a very interesting subject, because this is actually something that I have noticed on social media, that the entire film community there are mad. They are pissed off because of a certain revelation. Sorry, that word seemed to be hard to come out of my mouth, but anyways, yes, a certain revelation that has been revealed that really did get the film community riled up. And you'll understand why, because it's more of a specific thing. It's more of a niche thing per se, and I don't know if you guys would do this, but it does highlight a very harsh reality regarding digital purchases. And what I am talking about is going to be regarding Amazon. Now, if you guys don't know, right now, Amazon is facing a lawsuit by a woman by the name of Amanda Caudell. And to go and read a little bit from my source here on The Hollywood Reporter, it states here that she claims the company secretly reserves the rights to end consumers' access to content purchased through its Prime Video service. She filed her punitive class action on behalf of herself and any California residents who purchase video content from the service from April 25th, 2016 to present. And she is currently suing Amazon for unfair competition and false advertising. And in this case here, Amazon's response to this is pretty much saying, yeah, we do that. So, you should have read that. We put that in our terms of service. To more specifically, though, to read this little section coming from the lawyers of Amazon, it states, plaintiff claims that defendant Amazon Prime Video service, which allows consumers to purchase video content for streaming or download, misled consumers because sometimes that video content might later become unavailable if a third-party rights holder revokes or modifies Amazon's license, writes David Biderman in the motion, which is posted below. Well, they did in the article, by the way, they did post the whole lawsuit. But anyways, back to what I was talking about. The complaint points vaguely to online commentary about this alleged potential harm, but does not identify any Prime Video purchase unavailable to plaintiff herself. In fact, all of the Prime Video content that plaintiff has ever purchased remains available. But here is the juicy part of all this. The most relevant agreement here, the Prime Video terms of use, is presented to consumers every time they buy digital content on Amazon Prime Video. These terms of use explicitly state that purchasers obtain only a limited license to view video content, and that purchase content may become unavailable due to provider license restrictions or other reasons. And I think it's because of that. If I may quickly go and comment onto this lawsuit, I think Amazon is just going to end up scot-free on this. I think the case is just going to end up being dismissed. And that is mainly because of the fact that this feels like a case that this is just someone who did not fully read the fine print. Like, honestly, with the terms of use, it really is a case where, like, they would write, like, yeah, usually terms of uses are often really big, and they can often lead to, like, 62 pages or something like that. But it does feel like this person did not fully read all of the terms of use, or did not fully read the fine print of it. And it's honestly because of that, I feel like Amazon is just going to end up becoming okay with it. Like, even if Amanda Caudell ends up winning it, I don't think there would be much change coming out of it. But the point here is not to go and talk about the lawsuit itself. The point is to go and discuss about something that has been revealed by Amazon, something that they admit to doing, now in full display, that leads to the film community to be massively upset. And it pretty much highlights a very dark revelation, a very dark truth regarding purchases, regarding purchasing digital movies on websites like Amazon or on iTunes. And I did research, by the way. This does not just apply to places like Amazon or onto places... it doesn't just apply onto just Amazon. It also applies onto places like iTunes as well. And it is actually true. Because the truth is, when it comes to movie collections, the person who owns the collection is not based on who spends their money on the individual movies, but rather on where the collection is. If your collection is at home, then the owner of the collection is you. But if your collection is either on Amazon or on iTunes and stuff like that, then they are the ones who ultimately own it. Because it is technically true that since they are the ones who would ultimately cater these these movies, that it could happen that suddenly the license for those movies might end up expiring, and they would have the rights to just take it out and have, and pretty much have no say to it. Like I know it might seem a little bit complex, but here's a good example of what I mean. Now, this is going to be a hypothetical theory that does, like this probably won't ever happen, but I'm just going to go and put out an example. Let's say you went on Amazon and you decided to go and digitally purchase Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That you want to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on Amazon, and you decided to go and check it out for as long as you want. You're happy, you own Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on Amazon, so you're happy with that. But then suddenly, Disney and Sony decided that they're going to collaborate and put all of the Spider-Man movies onto Disney Plus, and exclusively onto Disney Plus, where the only place that you could find it is just in there, including Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So from there, for Sony's end of the bargain, they would have to go and make sacrifices where all the other streaming services and all the other platforms, they won't make it available. Like, not on YouTube, not on Amazon, not on iTunes or anything like that. And they would tell them, hey, I made an exclusive deal with Disney, so please take away my... So please, I want to revoke my license. So from there, Amazon complies, and they decided to remove Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse onto their platform. Which means that for you suddenly find yourself not having Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse on your collection on Amazon, and you pretty much wasted your money for nothing. That you just spent, you spent probably $15 or $20 to have a movie that just suddenly magically seems gone from there. Because the big thing that they emphasize is that you are not buying the movie like you would think. You are only buying a limited license. The big way to go and describe this is that basically no matter what you are doing is that you are renting no matter what it is. Like rather it be for just purposely a few days or even renting like when you would go and fully purchase the movie. Because you don't know how, because the thing is, when you go and buy the movie, you have that limited license, and you never know if suddenly there's something that happened behind the scenes that suddenly the license to have that movie onto the platform would no longer happen, and thus, Amazon would just yank it out. Now, of course, I would like to go and emphasize that technically, this is not really a common case. It is true that it is pretty rare when these situations happen, but still, it's more the comfort of ownership. That's really the big thing that people are upset about. And that's why people are so mad, is because technically, when they're buying movies, they're not buying movies. They're only buying this limited license, and thus, they're only renting. They're renting with a questionable expiration date that not even the company themselves know when it would actually expire. But at the end of the day, yes, it would expire. And and again, to emphasize clearly, this is all just like, no matter what you're doing is just renting, rather it be for a day or 7 days or for an undisclosed amount of time, you're only buying that limited license. And that is pretty much why, overall, a lot of people are emphasizing the importance of physical media. People are pretty much emphasizing that this is the perfect example as to why physical media is actually superior to digital media, like to owning something on either Amazon or iTunes or even on streaming services. And that's also something that made people upset with digital purchases, is that technically, with digital purchases and stuff like that, it's not really that different from streaming services. But the big difference is that, at least with streaming services, they are open about the fact that some movies are not going to be there forever, and they will take them away for a period of time and maybe bring them back later. But with digital purchases, they hide that crap. Like, technically, they could argue that they're being transparent about it, but they're pretty much hiding it, like, in a little section in the fine print of the terms of use. Like, they're only selling you the illusion of ownership, but you don't truly own the actual movie. Again, it's not about who buys the movies. It's where the collection can be found. And again, going back into physical media, the reason why a lot of people nowadays are saying that is objectively superior to digital content is because the ownership of the movies with physical media is you. 100% you, no matter what. Like, going back to my example of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Here, I actually got the Blu-ray, so I can go and present it right here. So, let's say, again, like, that whole hypothesis of Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has happened, that it's all moved to Disney Plus and exclusively onto Disney Plus, and you cannot find it anywhere else. Honestly, you don't care. Because even if you don't have Disney Plus, you still have the movie on a physical media, on DVD and Blu-ray. And if you just want to check it out whenever you want, you can. You could just pop this open and you can put it on the DVD or Blu-ray player and you're good to go. And there is also another benefit that not many people talk about, is that technically, watching a movie on physical media does not require the internet. If your internet suddenly goes out, or if you don't pay your bills and suddenly you lost your internet access, you don't necessarily have to worry if you want to watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. You won't have to rely on the internet in general, or on Netflix, or on a streaming service to supply it, or to go on someplace like iTunes or Amazon. You could just go and pop in the disc. That's all you have to do. And the thing, and honestly, like, I understand a lot of people would say that there is more benefits with digital content, that technically it is true. In some cases, it can be cheaper, and also it does take up less space, because that is the one thing digital will always have over physical media is that it does take less space around your house. But still, at least with physical media, you can have it for as long as you want, and you can enjoy it whenever you want, because you know you own the movie. That is the true meaning of buying a movie, and now you own the movie. That's the big thing about this. Again, with physical media, you are guaranteed to own the movie. But with digital media, you only buy a limited license. So hopefully that will give you a little bit of a moral about home media, about which one would be more preferable. And for me, honestly, after hearing this news, after reading about it, I am definitely so much of a proud owner of a whole physical media collection. I'm a proud owner of Blu-rays and DVDs, and I know that I'll have these movies for as long as I want. And again, like, this is something I've often said before. Sure, I don't have HBO Max because I'm in Canada and they don't have HBO Max in Canada. But if I ever want to check out the Studio Ghibli films, I got my collection right up here. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I want to ask you all, how do you all feel about this? What is your take upon Amazon's reveal about only purchasing limited licenses? You know, like, I know it might seem like a bit of a complex discussion, but I would like to know what you would think about this. Okay, so, let's see, what do we have here? Oh my lord, these streaming services are causing a lot of controversies more than just cable. Crunchyroll with High Guardian Spice. Well, High Guardian Spice was like that was like years ago, actually. I haven't heard about it since, honestly. Amazon Prime with this, and Netflix with lots of them, including Cuties and canceling Dark Crystal. I would unsubscribe to either of them, but I can't get DVDs no more, not just because of the pandemic, but many of the DVD shops in my area has closed down. Can't just buy online either. It depends on region and availability. This is a situation I'm unfortunately stuck in. Well, okay, you're probably talking about something a little bit different, because I'm not referring to streaming services here. I'm not talking about stuff like Netflix or Amazon Prime Video or Hulu or anything like that. That's like a bit of a completely different subject. I mean digital purchases. I mean like going into like iTunes or Amazon and you buy the movies digitally. Like, you buy $20 per movie. You buy them individually, and you would just check them out on your computer screen or wherever is available. That's a completely different subject. Just to keep that in mind. Okay, so let's see. It's not just movies that have the issue with digital media, but also video games as well. The only way I could play certain games is if the physical copy costs too much. For example, pretty soon I want to play Klonoa Door to Phantomite on PS1 or on the PS Store on PS3, as the physical copy costs around $100 or $300 on eBay right now. Overall, I prefer physical over digital. PS, you guys should play Klonoa. It's a great series, especially the second game, Lunatis Veil on PS2. And that is true. Like, technically, it's not just with movies, technically. Physical media will always be better than digital. And it's not just with movies, again. It's with, like, TV shows can also apply to that, and especially with video games. Like, that, like, technically, I know that's a completely different field, but I'm sure that they're also experiencing the same thing as well, that you would buy, and oh my god, I can imagine, like, technically nowadays with video games costing like $70 or even like $80 or something like that, that you would go and like buy a game full price digitally, and then suddenly it would no longer be available. Yeah, that could be a frightening thought, actually. So that, honestly, I really do empathize with the gaming community on that, if they're also dealing with this. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. This is one of the reasons why I still buy physical copies of movies that I truly love. I own all the Skywalker films, the Frozen movies, all the Pixar movies, and the most iconic films that is considered to be the best on Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD. I have a nice library collection of my favorite films of all time, and I'm not ashamed of doing it. I will have them forever and never give away my collection. You go, dude. Okay, let's see. Haven't spoken in a while on this podcast. I am a person that started collecting home media through the Criterion collection. Even Netflix is putting out some movies on the collection. That is true. I would only rent movies digitally to see if I want them physically. Speaking, Criterion is planning on upgrading the Grand Budapest Hotel. Speaking of Criterion, are you planning on upgrading the Grand Budapest Hotel and Parasite to your collection? Honestly, I think so, actually. I might consider that. I only got Grand Budapest on DVD, so that would definitely be a good reason to do so. As for Parasite, like, I'll probably have to do a little bit of research. Like, I do have the Blu-ray technically, and I want to see the comparisons on how it is compared to what Criterion has, but then again, probably Criterion has more, so yeah, like, honestly, I might consider upgrading, actually. Yeah, I'll go and read one more comment before we would cap this off. You know, I've been thinking of digital media since the disc can be scratched, but if people want me to do physical media, then I will. Also, happy Halloween, AniMat. Alright, I think that's a nice little way to cap this one off, and that will do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. So with all that said, I would like to go and say thank you all so much for watching, thank you all so much for listening, and also, if you guys live in America and are over the age of 18, please do not forget to vote, but at this point, don't go and vote by mail. Go and, like, actually be there. Go to your voting area and actually place your vote there, because trust me, this is a case where your country depends on it. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching, thank you all so much for listening, and until next time, see you later, dudes!